Change is inevitable and crisis is unexpected, but there's one thing that remains constant: our need for support. Whether it's a personal loss, a career upheaval, or a life crisis, the people that we lean on can make all the difference. In today's episode, we're going to break down why support systems are crucial to getting us through tough times and how you can strengthen yours. Stick with us. Hey everyone, John here. 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 Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Hey everyone, John here. Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. In this episode, we are going to talk about support systems. Change is inevitable. And if I go back in my life and I think about all the different times that I have needed a shoulder to lean on, I can't tell you how important it was that I had somebody there. I had somebody that I could go talk to. I had somebody that I could go bounce ideas off. I had somebody that could give me advice. So if you are going through a change and you need a support system, you're going to want to listen to today's episode, because we're going to break down 3 different support systems. We're going to talk about how important it is not just to receive support, but also to give support, and why science says it's fundamentally important for us to receive and be aware of the support that is around us. So let's get into the content for today. The first thing I want to talk about, and I was journaling this morning about the times that I've had to reinvent myself or I've had challenges in my life. And one of the things that always just kept on coming up was this uncertainty, this feeling of uneasiness that I got every time that I knew I needed to make a change. I knew I needed to make a decision, and I kept on putting it off, kicking the can down the road. And it just wasn't healthy. It wasn't healthy for me. It wasn't healthy for the others around me. I just turned into this ball of stress, and I outwardly would express that. Sometimes I would do it bits by bits, just kind of being snippy and making rude comments when I'm not like that. Or I would have a big blow up and let everything out all at once. And that was not good for anybody. It was not healthy for me, and it was not healthy for the people that were around me. So I got to thinking, I'm like, why is that? Why do we push things down and keep things inside? Some people are opposite. Some people are externally, they have their emotions on their sleeve, for lack of better words. But whether you're internal or external with your expressions when it comes to the stress, it's because we're in a fight or flight mode, and stress and uncertainty keeps us there. So when we are reacting to a stimulus, to something, to a change, to a decision that we got to make, we're constantly either fighting it or we're flighting from it. And that is not a good place to be. So one of the important things to recognize is when you are in that fight or flight mode, that is a time to pull in your support system, to go find somebody, to bounce some ideas off, to just talk through some things. And we'll talk a little bit more about how to recognize which one you need. So that's the first thing behind really why we need support systems. The second part of that is our social connections, our ability to create relationships and fellowships with others. It releases a chemical within us that allows us to reduce our stress. Oxytocin is the chemical, and when we are connected to people, that allows us to reduce our stress. So when we are creating our social systems, our support systems, we need to recognize that. We need to make sure that we have somebody that we can talk to. I just recently answered a survey, and it was for a leadership class. And I don't know how many times, these surveys sometimes they'll ask you over and over again the same question. It's just weaselly worded a little bit different. But the gist of it was, do you have somebody or is there somebody in your inner circle that you can go talk to? And this was part of it. This was part of the identification of those individuals or a individual that we can go speak with because it reduces that stress. It gives us the ability to say, hey, we don't have to do this alone. We don't have to go through this alone. I have somebody there that can help us out. And then last but not least, supportive relationships go a long way to improve our mental health, helps with our decision making. We can bounce ideas again. What are you thinking? This is where I'm going with this. This is the decision that, I think is the right decision. What do you think? That sort of thing, which builds resiliency. So this month we've talked about resiliency. It's our theme. Support systems help us build our resiliency. So that's exactly why you need to find a support system. And it doesn't have to be somebody that you know. In this next area, we're going to talk about 3 different support systems and how you can diversify your support systems. But before we get out of that first topic, one actionable thing that I want you to take away, I want you to audit your support system. So do me a favor, take out your journal, take out a sheet of paper. Again, I want this to be interactive, not just passive listening. I want it to be active listening. I want you to write down all the people that you can go to today if you needed support, if you had a question, if you wanted some feedback on a decision. Write them down. And then I want you to audit that list. Who on that list is your number one go-to, and then on down the list. That's going to help you identify who your support system is. And then as you're making that list, things might come up like, man, are they really part of my support system? Last time I went to them for support, it was more of, hey, you should do this, than listening to me and really offering solid piece of advice. So audit your support system, write down the people that are your go-tos when it comes in a time of need. The second topic I want to talk about is not all support is the same. And where I'm going with this is you need to know where to go. You need to understand what you need. And if you don't have it, you need to build it. And that's going to make more sense as we go through each one of these. We're going to talk about 3 different types of support. The first one is going to be our emotional support. Where do you go when you require emotional support? So this is when you want reassurance or encouragement on something. I go to my family, my friends, my mentors. Those are the people that I go to for encouragement. Those are the people that support me, thick or thin. They're the ones that are always behind me, cheering me on. That's my emotional support group. The second support group is practical support. So think of practical support you need when you are trying to problem solve. So who do you go to when you need to solve a problem? For me, it's my colleagues, or it's a group of peers that I have. If I'm needing to problem solve, the very first thing I do is throw a question out there, and then I allow the group to simmer a little bit, and then here it comes, popcorn of ideas. I love it. Just for me, it helps me think. All the options are out on the table. We brainstorm, and then ultimately I let them know how the decision is going to be made up front. But for the most part, it's a free flow of ideas. I love it when it works. This could be, again, a group of people that you work with, or it could be a peer group, or it could be a community forum where you go and you ask a question out there, and then like a Reddit type forum, and then everybody's offering their advice or offering, their suggestions on how to solve a problem. So that's the second support group. And the last one is informational support. So this one, think about when you need guidance or you require expertise. So I think of this like as the third level up, where I'm going to, a therapist. I go to therapy. I've gone to therapy for 20 something years. When I just need an expert opinion, I go to therapy. I go to people who I know are experts in their field, who have been there, who have the experience. So for me, my coaches, a lot of times when I'm struggling through something and I just need someone to help me think through the problem, I bring it up with one of my coaches. I kind of let them know where I'm thinking, and then they do a great job, because that's what they're great at, of kind of making me unpack exactly what the root cause or where I'm going, or question kind of my thoughts and allow me to look at it from a different way. But that is my informational support. So the 3 support groups: emotional support, those are your close family and friends; practical support, those are going to be your colleagues. Those are going to be like the groups like in Reddit. And then for the informational support, those are going to be the experts or your coaches. One of the actionable things that I want you to take out of this part of our discussion today is ask yourself, do you have at least one person or do you have at least one resource, each one of the support groups that we talked about? If you do, great. If you don't, go back to that list that you identified in the first part of people that you turn to and put a little check mark by them. Do they provide emotional support? Do they provide practical support? Do they provide that informational support? That's going to help you identify who to go to and when to go to those individuals. Okay? And then I want you to diversify. So if you're continually going for emotional support, people to kind of get behind you and rally behind you, that's not always what I need. Sometimes I need somebody to check my thoughts. Sometimes I need somebody to diversify the way that I'm thinking. So I'm going to get around others that may see it differently. Okay, that's the importance of diversifying your support system. So I want you to identify, do you have a person in each one of those? And then how diversified is your support system right now? The last topic we're going to talk about today is how we support others. And it's not always about receiving support. One of the mantras of the Go Be Great community is to help others get to where they're going. And if I'm constantly receiving support, how can I give back? When's my turn to give back? When's my turn to support others? Trust me, I'm a big proponent of making sure you're putting that oxygen mask on yourself. So you need to have people that you can go to and identify, just like we did in the first 2 segments. But this third one, we're going to flip that around and talk about how we can support others. One of the very first things that you can do to support others is to stop talking and just listen. Now, this is going to be harder for some than others, and you have to work on it. You really have to work on being an active listener. So John, what does that look like? Being an active listener allows us to focus on the intent of the message, not the message itself. What is underlying behind the message? And don't focus on providing an answer. Really focus on what that individual is saying. What are they trying to tell themselves, not you, okay? So think about active listening as a way for us to kind of give that emotional support, for us to put your coach hat on, the coach approach, and listen to what is being said, and then just sit back and ask some questions. A great way to start: help me understand your line of thinking. Help me understand how you came to that conclusion. And now you're getting them into the process. So they are going through their thought process. And a lot of the times, they're going to say, you know what, that was really flawed the way that I thought about that. Or I need to go get a couple more suggestions or ideas before I make my final decision. So listening is the first step on how we can support others. Small, consistent check-ins. This is something that I started 2 weeks ago. Write a list in the morning. I write a list of 6 people that I check in with for that day. Sometimes they're the same person. If I've checked in on somebody and maybe they're going through something and they need my support, I will go back in and I'll check on them. Sometimes they're just random people. Some of these people that I write down may be friends on Facebook that I've come across and they're going through a tough time that I see. Or I'll just check on them even if they're going through a good time. I'll say, hey, listen, I saw you started that new business, or you sold that home, or, whatever they're doing, their successes, I'll check in. I'm proud of you. It's great to see that you're doing well. You see, because that support doesn't just come negatively. It also comes in a positive fashion too. That's how we support others, through that emotional support system, by giving them encouragement, cheering them on, letting them know that I see you. I see you succeeding. I see you winning at life. Makes a big difference. And then last but not least, supporting others strengthens our resilience. And this goes back again to our theme. As we support others and we let them know that we are there for them, it strengthens our resilience. How awesome is that? For others to know that they have somebody that they can talk to if they need somebody to listen, that somebody's cheering them on, that somebody sees them. I was fortunate in my life to have family and friends that I could always turn to, somebody that I could always go to. My mom, my dad, my spouse, my significant other, my uncles, my grandmothers, my grandfathers. I was lucky. I grew up fortunate that somebody was always rooting me on. Now, they were very cautious, and sometimes they asked what I was thinking or what the heck was I was doing, but I always had somebody there. People out there aren't always fortunate. And if you're one of those, reach out to me. Reach out to me. I'm always here to listen. Drop a comment in the DMs. Let me know what you're doing. I believe in you. I just don't say that at the end of my shows to say it as a sign off. I truly believe in each and every one of you out there, and I'm here to support you. So just a recap of what we talked about today. So we talked about the science of the support systems and why we need them. They reduce stress. They allow us to turn to somebody and talk to. And then we also talked about the 3 different types of support systems: our emotional support systems, the practical support system, and then our informational support system, and why we would need each one. We identified who in our group that we would turn to for each one. And then my challenge to you was to diversify that. And then last but not least, how to support others by listening, by checking in. And my challenge here, go check on somebody. Check on one person this week. Send them a text, pick up the phone and call them, see how they're doing, check in with them. And that is going to keep you intentional about your support system and how it's going to continue to build our resilience, and we can get through anything with each other. So one thing that I want to leave you with is I want you to think about a support system as not just surviving, but thriving through crisis. I don't want you to just survive crisis. I want you to grow through those challenging times in our lives. Build that resilience. You will become a better person for it. I promise. I hope this episode helped somebody today. I believe in you. Go be great. We'll talk to everyone later. Bye-bye. If you like what you're hearing, do us a favor. Click on that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up, or leave a comment. That lets us know that what we are putting out benefits you. If you want additional information or resources or learn how to work with me, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com, because when we become better versions of ourselves, it helps us get others to where they're going. Go be great.